Welcome to Business Connection. I'm Liz Spencer. I have a wonderful guest in studio. It's Donna Mebane, and she's the author of Tomorrow Comes. Tell me what motivated you to write this book. It's a little bittersweet.
It is. Now, the short answer really is the completely unexpected and sudden death of my 19-year-old daughter, Emma, who after less than 8 days after spending a wonderful holiday with my other daughter, Sarah, and I in Europe, and less than 4 hours after having pizza with her father and her brother and Skyping with her sister, went to sleep and just never opened her eyes. So that's the short answer. The longer answer is, as every parent thinks, that's the worst possible thing that can happen.
Yes.
And I've advised a number of people, you've got to find some reason to sort of keep getting up every day and kind of keep going. And one of the things that surprised me, I felt that I was a pretty good mom, had been a pretty good mom all my life, and I just completely focused internally. I just paid almost no attention to my other children or to my husband. I mean, I just really was trying to figure out a way to get up every day.
Okay.
So the deeper motivation was probably just to begin that journey of survival and to reconnect with my family and what they were thinking and what they were feeling.
Right, and you said a little bit off camera that you wanted to be two things.
Yes.
Yes.
So I wanted to be a mom and I wanted to be a writer. And both of them were quite unorthodox in terms of how that came about. The first was a result of my son Jason being born. I was a single parent at the time, not something anybody would necessarily hope for or wish for. And then the death of Emma, my last child, my youngest child, really is what catapulted me into writing. Neither one of which would I have necessarily chosen. But
Right, but you were an English major, so writing was probably a form of
very natural to me.
Yes, very therapeutic.
Very therapeutic. I've done a lot of professional writing, not necessarily about topics like death and that sort of thing, but I'd done a lot of professional writing, and I was always the person in the family that would write the 50th anniversry speech.
Right. We need somebody in the family that writes.
Exactly.
And you're it.
Exactly.
So this book has been called Reality Fiction, and tell me what that means.
So I don't know if that's a real genre or not, but that's something that we called the book, and actually some of the reviewers also started to relate to it in that way. And it really has to do, I think, with the structure of the book, which starts out with Emma opening her eyes. In fact, the first line is Emma opened her eyes on the day that she actually didn't open her eyes. And she doesn't yet know it, but she's died. She died in her sleep, so I'm sure it came as quite a shock to her if there was any consciousness after death. And it sort of, every other chapter kind of joins her on her journey through trying to figure out what's going on, and then ultimately the adventure of being Emma in a brand new world, in a world that she had not had any experience with. But between those chapters is the very real grief that each of us in the family, her friends, the community, her employer, were going through. So it goes back and forth between what was definitely real and what I certainly hope is real, but I can't claim that it is. No one really knows what happens afterwards.
Sounds very intriguing.
Thank you. Thank you.
How's the book been received?
It's been received extraordinarily well, much to my surprise. I think part of that is because it turned out to be a lot more hopeful, funny. I mean, I know that sounds incredible, but I think people initially, even my husband, was loath to read something about a mother losing her child.
Right, it's a very hard
thinking
subject.
That's just going to be awful. But much to my surprise, it was also very hopeful and very funny. So it's won all kinds of awards: best first novel, best literary fiction, things like that. About I think 12 major awards. So it's on Amazon. It's doing very well, and reviews have been strong. So it sort of started as an inner circle book that was written for me, then kind of expanded to my family, then sort of friends, and now, as we talked a little bit off beforehand, strangers are reading it and commenting on it. That's very rewarding.
And you're self-published.
Yes.
That's exciting.
It is. It actually was a way to bring my husband and I together, our strengths together, around something that, again, was very, very challenging for both of us. He really cares about word choice. He really cares about fonts. He really cares about things like that. And I wanted to tell the story, and that was really a really nice marriage. He's actually published a number of books. He has a small independent publishing company called Starshine Galaxy. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
This was the first one that he did for me.
That's nice.
Yeah.
But I think it also shows the strength of you as a writer.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's part of it. Yeah.
Right.
You know, I mean, there's millions of books, or hundreds of thousands certainly being written every day, and with the internet and, you know, ways to get them out there, you still have to, a good story still has to rise to the top somehow, some way, no matter how it's published.
Right, but I think good stories will. I believe that wholeheartedly, that good stories always rise.
Yeah.
So, who was the audience you were aiming for with this?
Yeah, so initially, I think, beyond the initial family and all of that, I would say the
strangers, who did you expect?
So I think the people that responded initially, wholeheartedly, were people who had lost a child.
Yes.
I'd been invited to speak on the radio. I've been invited to speak at Compassionate Friends, you know, and a lot of that was really around surviving this kind of a loss. So over time, I think the book found its way to people who had lost anybody, and almost everybody has lost somebody, a grandmother, a beloved grandmother, a spouse, a sister, you know, that kind of thing. And now I think it's being read, I'm told it's being read by people who haven't yet lost anybody, and this is probably the young mom audience who was afraid to read the book initially. I know that from some friends of mine who are young moms, or friends of my daughter. I don't have a lot of young mom friends. They were afraid to read it, thinking, you know, but when they did, and when they started to talk about it on mommy blogs and things like that, there was this sense of wanting to be a better parent and wanting to really live for today, because honestly, you just don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. One reviewer said that just about anybody said everyone can find themselves in this book. So that, I guess, has broadened the audience to just about everybody. So I'm excited about that.
That's thrilling. That's thrilling.
Really
well,
is.
and again, I think it goes to that hopeful, that funny nature that you somehow came through in your grief.
Well,
and
Emma
your
was a
pain.
funny kid, and it would be hard to write about her and not have some humor in it. She was a little tiny bit clueless. One of the things that one of my motivations for writing the book was that people kept giving me books about God and faith and this and that. Honestly, that wasn't my biggest concern at that point in time. You know, finding your way back to God and how not to be angry with God and all of that. And I wasn't angry with God. I was just trying to figure out what happened. And I couldn't imagine Emma sprouting wings and wearing a pristine gown and being all-knowing. You know, the halo, and trading her. Wait, what? For this, you know, all-knowingness and all of that. So I wanted her to be comfortable, and that was the afterpiece. So
let's talk a little bit about where you can buy this book, because I bet it would make a great gift, whether it be for someone who's lost someone so close and so immediate, or just, you know, it's an interesting concept. If I didn't know the backstory behind Emma, I would think as a professional and as a little bit as a writer myself, I would think, well, that's a really good idea. That's a good concept.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, good.
And so where can someone get this book?
So all the logical suspects, Amazon and Barnes & Noble, any online bookseller. Also, there's a little, she worked at Townhouse Cafe and bookstore. It's a little independent bookstore, much like Anderson here in St. Charles. And they have it proudly displayed because Townhouse factors into the book a little bit. She loved working there. But I would say in terms of it being a gift, I think it does make a good holiday gift, because I think that ultimately it's about connectedness, it's about family, love, hope, things that are our best weapons to kind of deal with our darkest times. I know that sometimes during the holidays it's hard for whatever reason to find the light and the joy, but it's there. They're life gifts, no matter how small they are. And I think all of that really kind of is a holiday message, as weird as it may sound, and as strange as that connection might be. To me, it's the essence of what the holidays are all about, finding light in darkness and feeling good about what you have versus feeling terrible about what you don't have.
Right. and hopefully carrying that off into the new year as you start
Absolutely.
a new year fresh. You've written a second Emma story. Emma Continues.
Emma does. Yes, the second book is called Emma Beckons. It's called Tomorrow Beckons. And in it, Emma continues to grow and evolve. And I've also written the outline for a third book called Tomorrow Matters. And in it, she really does get a little bit closer to what I think traditional faith-based thoughts are about what happens after you die. She makes a significant impact on after. Mm-hmm. She does all the things that I would have hoped for my children to do here in before, which is what I call Earth. And she even finds love and starts preparing for a marriage at the same time that my son was preparing for a marriage here on Earth. So I think that will probably be the last Emma story in terms of the trilogy, but I hope that I'll be able to keep writing about other things that this experience has brought to me.
Well, thank you, Donna, for stopping by and sharing your story. We wish you tremendous luck, and it's a great story. It's a great gift. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll be right back with more Business Connections. Stay tuned.